Whenever you put money in a savings account or buy a bond, you're actually lending someone your money. The amount you've lent them is your investment. A savings account pays you interest on the balance you hold in your account. With a bond, your return is generally fixed and known ahead of time. It has a set maturity date, at which time the bond is terminated and the investor is returned the money that has been lent. The face value of the bond, which is the amount you receive when the bond matures, is referred to as the par value or principal. Most bonds issued by corporations trade in units of $1,000. Although bonds issued by federal, state, or local governments may trade in units of $5,000 or $10,000. Over the life of the bond, you receive semi-annual interest payments, which are set when the bond is issued. The coupon interest rate refers to the actual rate of interest the bond pays. Most bonds have fixed interest rates, but some have variable or floating rates, meaning that the interest rates changes periodically to reflect current interest rates. Let's assume, for example, that you've bought a 20-year bond issued by the government with a par value of $1,000 and an interest rate of 8%. You'll receive $80 per year in interest payments. That's 0.08 times $1,000. Then, at maturity, which in this case is 20 years, you'll be returned the par value, which is $1,000. With lending investments, you'll usually know ahead of time exactly what your return will be, which isn't always a good thing. For example, because you've locked in an 8% return on your bond, if inflation suddenly climbs to 16%, your return won't even keep up with inflation. However, if inflation drops, your 8% may look even better than it did when you purchased the bond. The biggest potential problem with lending investments arises when the lender experiences financial difficulties and can't pay the interest on the bond, or can't pay the bond at maturity. If the firm that issued the bond goes bankrupt, the bondholders most likely lose their entire investment. Unfortunately, even though lending investments let you share a lender's financial gain, they don't let you share any of the pleasure. If the lender suddenly makes a ton of money, you don't. With lending investments, the best case scenario is that the issuer pays you all the interest that it's owed, and at maturity gives you back your principal. Actually, this best case scenario is much better than it at first seems. If you carefully choose whom you lend money to, whose bonds you buy, or where you open a savings account, there can be much less risk with lending investments than with ownership investments. In addition, the returns can be quite respectable.